And how you guys doing? Welcome to the show. We got a good one today. A very serious issue that affected, the lives of our guests, as well as hopefully you guys can learn something from their experience. I heard a lot of people going around saying, "Oh, it's Jerry Springer." No, that's not how we're going to present this today. We're going to present this straight up as, this is something that really breaks you up when you have trust in a brother and they go way overboard and start messing around with your old lady. It's one of the things that in the old days used to be a condition about being thrown out bad from the club, but it doesn't seem that way anymore. But I'm going to bring in our guests, our co-hosts, all that good stuff. We got Black Dragon coming in. How you doing, Black Dragon? We got Jesse from Cali, and we got Wes. He's on the road right now. He's up in Pennsylvania right now. I feel for you. Your guys are just like me, and the loony leftists control the government. But these guys were members of a club. We will not be talking about which club they came from. We're going to be talking about their personal experiences with what happened to them. And again, anybody who takes a trust of another brother and throws it down the toilet, yeah, there's going to be some emotions, pretty ripe right there. And I want to start out and go to Black Dragon, then we're going to ask Jesse and then go to West. But Dragon, what is your thoughts on something like this?
So, there's some things that you learn in the playground, things you learn in the sand pit, in getting along with humans. And there was a book somebody wrote, All I Needed to Know About Getting Along in the World. I learned in high school, in a great kindergarten. And the idea that trust comes along with loyalty and brotherhood, and the understanding that my marbles are my marbles, and I'll share my marbles with you, but like the Aggie, I'm not sharing the Aggie or the cat eye or the Steely. That's my favorite marble. And there is an expectation among brothers that certain things will be sacred. Your children, your wife, your family, your old lady, and in some guys' instances, a property or two. So when that gets stepped on, we look at that as, in the biker world, in the biker club world, we look at that as the worst kind of egregious violation that you can have. And in my day, that was one of the few things you could be put out bad for and get your ass whooped for, and maybe even worse than that, because it's only a brother that you will trust in ways that you wouldn't trust another. And a lot of times those are the only people that can get close enough to you to hurt you like that. So that's my feelings.
Rock on. Jess, let's go to you first. Let's get your story, how it affected you, and really where you're
mine was like, you know what? Mine was kind of one of those weird ones. It was just crazy all the way around, the way it happened and what happened, this and that, basically I was at an event, and making my rounds, saying hi to all the different people and whatnot. And I kind of looked to the side, and I'm just like, did I see what I just saw? I've been drinking a little bit, so I was like, I wasn't sure if I really saw that. And the other member that was there with me kind of saw my confused expression, I guess, and he's like, "Are you all right?" And I was just like, "Well, can you look over there? Am I hallucinating, or And he looked, and the first thing he said was, "Oh shit." It was like, "Do you want me to go with you?" I said, "Well, yeah. It's better to have another brother there as a hey, this is what happened type thing." And so we went over there, and I was like, "How's it going, brother?" "Oh, good, good, good." "Oh, have you met my lady?" And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that was your lady." I was like, "Well, yeah, that's my lady, And And it was at the time she wasn't wearing a property patch, which was, that I could take the blame for. That kind of comes down on me for not enforcing that, I just felt like, oh, certain members know who she's with, so, leave it at that. And so then, we start kind of having words, and the mother chapter comes down. And at this time, I'm like, oh, shit, this is not going to go good. And mother chapter, what's going on? Hey, they get his side, you get my side, and they were like, well, what do you guys want to do? And I'm just like, well, I'm cool. Like, I'm just aware. I didn't know if you knew that was my lady, and I'm just letting him know, And he's like, well, you guys go talk it off among men. Talk about it among men, see how this can get resolved, whatever. I really don't remember the words that we said, whatever. We kind of still thought it was squash type thing. I mean, me and him squashed it, but mother chapter ended up following me up to the room. By this time, I'm a little heated, I'm a little heated. I'm a little drunk, liquor's flowing, and scuffle breaks out, and next thing you know, I'm knocked out on the floor, and yeah, it was just one of those things that was. I ended up spending the whole weekend in my hotel room. I was not allowed to leave my room, and it was just one of those things that, I look at it many different ways. I messed up as not making her wear the property vest type thing. Could I have handled it differently? I mean, personally, me, I don't believe in I believe it takes two. It takes two to make this happen. It's not just one person. One can engage, but the other one can say no. So it takes two. And at the same time, I'm not, at least me, if the brother's going to be brother of the club, I'm not going to be on bad terms with him. Yeah, we're brothers. We may fight. We may argue. But at the end of the day, if we go to war, I need to know that he has my back, as he needs to feel I have his back. And if you guys are grudging and beefing, you're going to wonder, hey. So it's kind of one of those things that.
Now, did it go beyond just that day, or?
Yeah, it kind of carried on for a while, because it was like, after that, I didn't talk to her, and I was kind of, put back in the prospecting phase of the club and all that, and so yeah, obviously I wasn't intermingling with it.
Let's talk about that for a second. The club kind of came down heavy on you, right? For tussling at the event or whatever, getting in.
Yeah, that's what it was more about. That I was the way. I mean, maybe I handled myself okay with the brother and all that, but at the same time, here I am letting my emotions get the best of me, and of course, when we get liquor in us, our emotions really get the best of us, and to pick a fight with someone from Mother Chapter, probably not the best idea.
Right, but that person had your girl. So when the club didn't have your back, how did you feel? How did you feel when they made you take off your colors?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever looked at it as the club didn't have my back. I want to say certain maybe members, that probably didn't have my back, that I was upset. I did voice my opinion, and I had no problem voicing my opinion. And it turned into a prolonged prospecting, prospecting to earn your way back up type thing. And basically me asking for a transfer out of that chapter into another chapter,
Right.
Now, do you put any blame on her? Did she know what she was doing? Did she know the protocols around other brothers, all that good stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I believe if you're going to bring a lady, whether she's, your wife, your girl, or just the fling thing or whatever, in that, culture, biker community, I think you guys all agree, is you have to brief them on certain protocols, like, hey, don't do this, don't do that, don't say this type thing, They got to know their basics. So, but for me to put all the blame on her, I can't really do that either, because, again, like I say, it takes two,
Yeah, it does take two. It does, 100%.
And even because I kind of thought about it, maybe he didn't know that she was with me until I said something. Maybe he did. I mean, who knows? Me and him never talked about it one-on-one. We talked about that day. We squashed it and just let it be. In fact, when I earned my patch back, and I, talked things over with her. I don't know why I did, but I talked things over with her. It was just like, if you're gonna come around or whatever, wherever this is going, like straight up from this point forward, property vest, like it has to be worn, absolutely 100%. And she agreed to it, and once she agreed to it, I felt it was the right thing to do to call that member. I called that member. I said, hey, I'm just letting you know officially, like I'm with her. She will be at the next event. She will be wearing a property vest. Are we cool or type thing.
Right. Now, when you said she was wearing a property vest, did it continue after that?
Yeah. After, she didn't just wear it just that one time. Obviously, anytime.
Did the affair? He's asked. Did the affair continue after that?
Oh, I mean, not that I know of. No, I mean, that I'm aware of. No, and I mean, the way I feel is like maybe that brother didn't know that she was with me, but from that day forward, I said something. He did know. So I mean, it's kind of like you said, we got to put those trust in our brothers in the club, and just say, hey, I can leave my old lady here with them and nothing's gonna happen. So from that day, I never questioned it. And honest truth, she didn't give me a reason to question it either.
Right. I'm gonna go to Wes real quick, Jesse. Let's get your story, Wes. Yeah, Wes. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Let's get your story.
What do you need to know?
Well,
sorry,
what happened with you, and how did it go with your situation?
My situation was a little different. I did have her property cut, and everybody knew she was mine. My patch was pretty strong in the club, and everybody respected me. I didn't have that with my old lady, but my charter, I went to a different charter. I was in one charter, and when I got swapped over to another, and our relationship went south, and I ended up moving out, and I lived in a rural area in Cali, so to hide something, they just put it on my property. And I had a couple of brothers put a trailer out there, and the P, he had a trailer full of stuff, and I can count on one time he'd come out there and visit me. I mean, we would have church over at my place, but to come over and visit me, as a brother, that was a rare thing that would happen. And when I told everybody, I says, hey, me and the old lady are breaking up. We got to get the stuff out of my yard. And they're like, all right, cool, no problem, blah, blah, blah.
He went off. He's in a truck right now. Go ahead, Black Dragon. Take it with Jess a little bit.
Well, until we get him back. One thing that both of these guys' stories, when they tell them, they're sad stories. And T Spain was saying, she cheated on him. He stayed with her. Hey, there's a lot of people that it's for better or for worse, and there's a lot of people that have stayed through relationships, especially you're young.
Really young back then.
It's your first time through it, and sometimes you take them back. And you hope for the better. You hope for the best. And that's what happens when we as guys ask them to take us back. We're hoping for the best. But one thing that I notice about Jess, his story, is despite the letdown, because there's a lot of, when we talk backstage, and when we talk, there's a lot more to his story. And I'm just, I'm just awestruck at, no matter how painful it was, no matter how much he didn't like it, whatever the case would be.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'll come back to my point, Hollywood. Go ahead. We're glad to have you back. Continue.
Just cussing. But that kind of, that was just one scratch to the bedpost, and I'm okay. But what really, really, it was that he was over there all the time, and I would hear from other brothers that he was over there doing this, that, and the other, and he still had his stuff there. And I'm just like, well, you guys are supposed to get the stuff out of there. And I went to the VP and I went, hey, what's this between my old ex-lady and the P? And it's not what he said, is what he didn't say. And he hesitated, like, this is fun. And he goes, well, I don't know anything. And that's where I messed up. And I got emotional. I really did. I should have just went back home and took it to church and put things out on the table. And I got emotional. I went to go confront her about it, where I got hemmed up by the cops. So I ended up dropping a brother's name to get out of it, because I didn't have a driver's license at the time. And I didn't tell the brother that what happened that night right away. So the sheriffs pulled me over, and I guess a local cop talked to the sheriff and wanted to know why my name was and this guy's name was, and why was I over there messing with this chick, and blah, blah, blah. One thing led to another. They decided that they were going to run me down. Well, before that, I went to church and I got patted down going in just soon, right before all this happened. And we brought it up. We threw it out on the table. Me and the P went toe to toe. I got the bad end of the stick on that one, but that's how it's supposed to go. You're supposed to bring it up in church. The thing was that he lied about everything. He said he wasn't over there, but I had some stuff, hidden that he tried to find. And
Right.
It was just the small little things like that. But the one thing that nobody understood is when they ran me down the road, they tried to keep me from going to the courthouse. And I'm going, why are you trying to keep me going to the courthouse? Because you're going to snitch on everybody. And I said, snitch on everybody. And I reached in the bag, because it was the only one of the other bags I ever had, I had that they allowed me to keep. And I pulled out paperwork for my petition for visitation for my boys. I says, this is why I was going to the courthouse for. He goes, well, the P says we got to keep you from going to the courthouse because you're going to snitch. And I said, the only person who knew I was going to the courthouse was my old lady, because I told her. So they thought they'd get me out of the way.
Well, I got a question
long story
here.
short, yeah, go ahead.
No, keep going.
Go ahead. You to finish that, then I'm going to have a question.
Oh, yeah, I probably work better when you give me a question. But long story short, I ended up going to the International P because really I didn't have anybody to talk. They already ran me down the road. They were trying to get me out of the state. That was another thing. I didn't have. Bylaws says I got to be voted on to get kicked out. That didn't happen. If you're running some down the road, they have a choice to take it to the IP and let him. He's like the Supreme Court. He actually has the last say so. He wants to hear it or not hear it. And I didn't have that option either. They were just trying to sneak me out of the state so they didn't have to deal with it.
Right.
And
going to Jess, and this is from T Spain, and I'd like to see if you agree with it. I don't think I own a girlfriend or wife. I've been through cheating and have found if they do it once, they'll do it again. And that's in his experience. Do you find that true or false?
It's a 50-50 thing. I've actually, for the most part, yeah, you would think it's true, but I also believe, I live a different lifestyle that I did, back when my club days, back in my 20s when I did a lot of crazy shit. And I look at myself, how much I changed. So I kind of look at, people can change, people make mistakes type thing. So,
Right.
Wes, you take that same question.
Yeah, my P had priors. It's I'm not trying to put him on blast because that's his business, but he's told me one or two times that he slept with other brothers' old ladies, and I was kind of floored. I go, why would you do something when that happened to you? And I'm not gonna go into detail about his thing. That's his deal, but he had priors.
Well, kind of sounds
I mean,
like
he's done it
it's
before.
disappointing hearing that the SA or whatever kind of club you're involved in didn't jump to the bylaws.
I was the SA.
And I'll let Dragon, because he's into the protocol stuff. Wouldn't you think the SA or somebody else would have stepped in at that point?
Well, he was the SA, and nobody steps in because of the clicks. As we get deeper into Wes's story, I mean,
yeah,
Wes was basically kidnapped and thrown out of town. So,
right,
encircled, and all of his stuff he was checked for guns and stuff, and just basically railroaded out of town without even a as he tells it, without even a trial. So it sounds like there was a lot of other folks complicit with the P who slept with his girl. So
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Keep going, Wes. Keep going.
Well, no, protocol. You want to talk about protocol? It's charter business. It has nothing to do with the club. It's charter business, and charter business stays in the charter. So that was my problem. That was my dilemma. I couldn't go to anybody else and say, "Hey, I got a problem," because if I was to go outside the charter, then I'm breaking protocol. I'm like, why are you telling everybody in the club about the problem? It stays here. It stays home.
But didn't the bylaws give you an opportunity to go outside the charter?
That's how you protect your club, though. Each charter is its own entity. That's how you protect, national. Because if you got somebody running rogue, it doesn't go up. It stays right there.
That's how you beat the RICO.
Yeah, you were in a charter system, then you were in a chapter system.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jess?
And that's how
what do you think?
I mean, I think it also depends on the club and the club protocols, and all that. As far as going up, there's only certain, I've never been on the charter system. I was in a club as a whole bylaw deal. And I mean, just for my situation, I don't think no bylaws were broken or anything. It was, I went up the higher steps and it was, handled. I mean, yeah, like Black Dragon said, I got the severe end of it and all that, but I think it was more of a, being drunk, belligerent, and picking a fight with the wrong person.
Right. Well, I cut you off, Wes. Go ahead and continue. I just wanted to get Jerry in here, or Jesse in.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. With the bylaws, they're not laws per se. What I'm kind of gathering, when I was in almost 10 years, they were more like a guideline. And everybody's looking at these bylaws like they're like set in stone, and nothing's really set in stone. Because the last word is the P's word. And, he has the last say so. I mean, in the 10 years, I really didn't vote on anybody coming in the club. It was already a set vote, and it was the P's vote. And
well, I'm flabbergasted there. I really
Oh,
am.
yeah.
'Cause some of the most
This is
historic, some of the most historic clubs out there that have been around since 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. The reason why they grew the way they did and are as strong as they are was because of their bylaws. That was the final word on everything, and it throws me through for a loop that it would be Black Dragon. Again, you're on the protocol stuff. How it was only a president's final word and not went by bylaws.
Well, and that's something that I also don't have a whole lot of experience with, is the charter system. But the charters do operate as independent organizations and independent little cities, or whatever you want to call it. And in that situation, perhaps the P is, and in the situation I'm most familiar with, we have protocols where if things are not happening fair, most stuff is chapter business, sure, but if things are not happening fairly, a member has a way to come out and go up, alerting the chain of command every step of the way, like in a military unit. But the regionals and the nationals definitely exist to be able to protect folks from this kind of thing. However, the charter system, I'm just not familiar enough to know the details of how they work. But it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, every club operates a little bit differently, and there has to be a will, even in a club where there's all these rules and everything is set forth. A lot of folks come away with the feeling, it's not the first time I've heard it, with the feeling that these bylaws are really just a guideline, because the P's doing whatever he wants, the sergeant at arms is backing him, and these other guys are backing him, so it really doesn't matter, they're doing whatever they want anyway. So it's not the first time I've heard that.
It's basically an
You're freezing up, Wes. Go ahead,
Go ahead, Wes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Wes.
No, I was just saying it's like an autocracy. You got one person calling the shots. Well, that's basically how it is when I was in. There's only one person, and the one person calling the shots. And
right.
the way I thought things is you got the P. He's basically, he talks to everybody, outside the charter. The VP takes care of business inside the charter, and the SA is the security, so on and so forth. Sometimes it doesn't even go that way.
Right. Jesse, did your experience leave you less trusting of women in the future?
Oh yeah, that it did, man. It honestly, even to this day, I kind of catch myself asking questions like, where are you going? When in reality, I shouldn't be asking that. If you're gonna be in a relationship with someone, they're not dogs. You don't need to know their every step type thing. But unfortunately, yeah, it did leave me with actually major trust issues. So.
And how are you trying to overcome all those issues right now?
You know what? It's hard with me because I actually around that same time when all this was happening, my mother became gravely ill, so I basically ended up with a severe clinical depression. So the combination of that just like really messed with my mind a lot, and I had to take a step back from everything and it just kind of really look at things and try to deal with, the depression part of it first and then the trust issues type thing, So honestly, it's stuff I'm still working on to this day, even though that stuff happened many years ago,
But at the same time, did you sink into a depression state where you're like, what could I have done different? What did I do for do something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was questioning everything. Like, man, could I have handled that different? What if I ignored it and went this way? What if I wasn't drinking that day, or what if I just kind of let it be, or or oh yeah, that has rolled through my mind many times.
I got a quick question here. China Dow wanted to ask.
All right, my question
You got to get
is,
in the thing.
I get it, the women were unfaithful, but were you guys unfaithful?
I'm gonna say this straight off the bat. I was, but obviously in our in our world, like it's rare for for a member's, I'm not gonna, especially on camera, and put himself on blast or anything like that. But there was, at least with me, all the relationships I've been in, there's never been any doubt whether I've been faithful or unfaithful. I've never given them a reason to, and I never have been unfaithful.
Mhm. Good, good answer right there. Good question too. Wow.
Maybe it could have been retaliation on her part.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, if I would have done something, that, or even something done,
he was never guilty of doing anything wrong.
I was just
But I
curious.
think that's also what psychologically kind of messed me up a little bit more, was like I never gave anybody a reason for this to happen, so why is it happening?
But you chose not to have the property patch on her. Why did you make that choice?
I mean, honestly, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't sure if things were really going to last, and I didn't really want to pass that property patch around. To me, I was brought in by some very old school members, the schoolmen of the old ways, and it's like only your righteous one is going to wear that. Only your wife, the one that you plan on being with. Granted, we don't know if marriage lasts forever, but the one you plan to be with the rest of your life, yeah, she's going to wear that property patch. And I don't know if I was sure at the time or not, and so I just kind of, and again, I fell on that, certain brothers know we're together, but, sometimes you forget how big the club is, especially when you're international, that shit, they're not all going to know,
Right.
Very
good. Very good.
So,
Wes. Well, go ahead, BD. You go.
So Wes, when you got spirited out of town, so you left everything behind. What did you do as a result? Where did you go from there? You didn't have a club. You didn't have any brothers. How did you feel about the club life? What was your outlook, and what did you do from there?
That was the hardest. Oh man, that was the longest bus ride. My daughter still lives there in town, and I just got back when I broke up with my ex and everything. I started spending more time with my daughter, and it was starting to get, where she, I was her hero. We're all, she was my baby girl, and when this went down, the worst thing I had to do was tell her, Daddy's got to go. I didn't have any friends. That was, like I said, it was the longest bus ride because I didn't have that support system anymore. And, when I got to where I was going, it felt strange because I didn't know who, where do I look? What do I do now? Kind of thing. I always had brothers, around me all the time. And then when I got out of the club, I found out how many friends I actually had, and it was zero, because all my friends were in the club. That's,
So it didn't only affect you, but it affected your family and your daughter. Is that the same case with you, Jess?
Well, one thing I wanted to touch on real quick, which Wes was saying, is I agree with it, because you know what? We dedicate ourselves, our lives, so much to the club. We put our club first for everything, that those are the only bonds you have. So, you come out of the club. Yeah, I felt the same way. I was lost. I was like, I didn't know who I could call, who I could trust. And I felt the same way. I didn't have any friends. And it was like, but back to the question you said, yeah, it did affect. She had kids of her own. We didn't have any kids together. But obviously those kids were affected. They saw me for, 8 years. you know, so they knew who I was. You know, I seen them grow up, and you know, when I finally did make that choice to like, hey, I'm out, I'm gone. You know, I never looked back. I just, you know, moved forward. But I didn't realize that, you know, hey, you have these kids that kind of build that bond with you, and you know, what did it take to just kind of, hey, you know, I'm here if you need me. You guys want to talk? Let me take you out to lunch. You know, let me something. You know.
So that had a big effect on the kids, you having to leave after all that time.
Yeah.
What was
Absolutely.
the big effect on you?
Yeah, I
Like you
left two
said,
boys.
you spent all that time with the club, putting everybody else aside for the club, and to come out the other end. And we've heard stories like this where people say, well, wait a second, I thought I was a brother, but now I'm not because I'm not wearing the patch. How hard did that really hit you?
Oh man, let me tell you. You know, don't get me wrong. There are some solid brothers that you could say, you know what, without the patch, I still talk to them. I can still lean back on them. You know, I can still call them, and they still got my back as I got theirs. But then, yeah, you do feel like, well, 90% of these guys that I called brothers for all these years are gone. Like, what the hell? You know, I'm not saying I committed any crimes, but you know, if I did, hey, I did this crime in front of you. Like, you know, now I can't call you for, you know, just to say hi. So it didn't, you know, and especially with me, like I said, I was going through that depression and all that other stuff. It messed with my mind. It took its toll on me. It really did.
I can only imagine, man.
Right.
That'd be like a kick in the nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, West? What was it like you putting all that time into a club, going through what you went through, and then coming out on the other side where, you like you were talking about with that bus ride, it was a lonely bus ride. It was depressing. And you sit back and you think to yourself, well, what happened? What did I do? Or what do they perceive I did? Or where was the brotherhood through this whole thing?
You know what? Before I got on the bus, I called a brother. He's my brother, and I brought him in the club, and he had some problems, and I had to pull his patch. He was in a different charter, and his charter called me up one time. And the only reason I'm telling you this story is because it's him. But the respect that his charter had for me, they called me up and says, we got a problem with this brother, and we're going to have to let him go. And we don't want a problem with you. And I says, well, when you have in church? And they told me, and I says, I'll be there. So I ended up going to church, and I listened to both sides. I listened to them, and I listened to him. And I was not going to go into detail about it, but I was so upset about it. I took his patch from him. And I says, you knew better than this. And to this day, me and him are so good friends. And he was the only one that I could actually call when that went down that night. And he went and picked me up from the bus station. I was able to go talk to the IP for a couple hours before getting on the bus to get out of town.
Did you feel that, Jesse, that
Hold on.
both sides of the story wasn't told?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, I just look at life that way in general. That, you know, we're humans. We make mistakes. Whether our old age we forget to say something, or we twist the story a little bit. I honestly don't believe that the two sides, you know, they don't come out. You know, they really don't.
Yeah. So, yeah. Trusting people. Yeah, I don't put too much trust in people that much anymore. Relationships. I'm in the first relationship in almost 10 years with the lady right here next to me. And I tried to date. I couldn't do it. I actually walked away. You know, after the date, I wouldn't talk to the lady no more. It's not. It felt weird to me. But at the same time, you know, I went into depression just like Jess. You know, wondering what the hell did I do wrong, and replaying every episode in my head. I got really depressed, but at the same time, it was the best thing that happened when I was on that bus ride. Because
Why? Why was it
opened up a new it was another chapter in life. It was like I didn't know it at the time, because destiny is a situation that we have a choice to act upon. And to get to that one point, everything started to fall back. You know, it was a hard process. I went through the depression. I worked hard to get back up. But the thing is putting, you know, the trust issue in front of everything, just like you said. But the reason why it was the best thing that happened to me, because I'm no longer in the situation that I was before this happened. My daughter saved my life. She gave me purpose in life to start everything all over again. And the reason of doing this show is to actually tell my side that I'm not the snitch that everybody thought I was. It wasn't about that one thing. It was a group of other things that kind of snowballed, and I screwed up. I'm owning that, because I used emotion when I should have just stepped back and took that all in, and I didn't do that. So, I messed up. I shouldn't have dropped the name, but at the same time, my brother should have my back, you know, and cover me. But then again, at the same time, I got to say something. You got to step up and say something. So, you know, so when I went and talked to the IP, I didn't lie to him. I told him what I screwed up on and how emotional I got. And I think that's where I came out with a little bit of respect, and some brothers helped me out and got me out of town.
So even though the way you left town was really kind of rough, they filled your pockets full of money, so that you weren't out there.
It was a lot. They gave me about $500, nothing, you know, extravagant, enough to get me out to the other side. And you know what? I'm grateful. I'm humbled about it. You know, I try to, you know, pay it forward, you know, in an aspect.
So
but like I said, it was the best.
Talk to me about how you turned your life around since then, and have become.
I'm no longer into hard drugs. I don't do drugs anyway. I drive truck. Matter of fact, you know, what was it? March 5th, 2014 was the last time I did dope. So ever since then, you know, I just kind of, you know, even though life is hard, and I you know, I get depressed every once in a while because of the situation. I screwed my life up, you know. My daughter wanted to come live with me, so I had to go work, you know, make sacrifices. You know, I quit smoking, turn around, got a car, got a job, got a better job. So I was able to get my own place, move it, you know, get out on my own. You know, it took me three and a half years. My daughter was able to come live with me.
That's awesome.
And I didn't have nothing.
Did you turn to any vices? Did you turn to any vices, Jesse?
You know, you know, I turned my life around. Mine was, like I said, different though, because I had mom that became gravely ill when all this happened. So you know, I took kind of the opportunity, kind of step back from, you know, everything, and was just there for my mom. And then, you know, when I lost her, it changed everything in me. It really did. And you know, you know, I am kind of grateful that you know, I honestly, I had like 8 sheriffs at my house every week just to say hi, according to them, you know. So I had that constant police harassment. I had the profiling, you know, they do with the bikers, and man, I couldn't do anything, you know. And now that I actually have that, where I feel free to kind of just go out here, and you know, I don't have to worry about law enforcement and all that. I didn't ever worry about, you know, wearing the patch and worry about who's going to see me. really care about that. We know what we signed up for.
Mm.
But I was grateful for it is not being, law enforcement knocking at my door all the time.
Mm. Well, my crime partner, Danny, I'm going through exactly what these guys have right now, depression. What did I do wrong? How could she do that to me, etc.? He knows the feeling. That is Danny D'Lo right there with his channel.
Oh man.
And that's
One thing
do you ever get that question that comes to mind with your club?
I have a lot of questions as far as, again, you look at two sides of it. You look at it like, as far as like with her, honestly, it affected me a lot more than people realize, because I ended up getting low self-esteem for myself. I just felt like I was never good enough for anybody else. And, like I just really didn't love myself, I guess you could say, after that. And as far as with the club, you start thinking, man, all these years I dedicated myself 110%, rising through the ranks, earning my stripes and earning my patches and on, like, did this brother really know, or did something still go on after that? Like, what the hell? I did all that for nothing? Or, of course, all those thoughts do go through your head. But I just learned to just, the only thoughts, that's all they are, is I got to kind of sustain them and just let it be. Because I also do believe in the old school way, unless you got that solid proof, why open your mouth, say anything, or create problems?
Mm-hmm. How were you able to overcome that low self-esteem?
Honestly, it took me doing everything I went through, breaking and just literally being at the dirt lowest point of my life and by myself, having nobody around, and slowly coming out of my shell. Then you notice people start they're nicer, or maybe they were always nice, but because of my low self-esteem, I didn't know that. So I start talking to people, and then I start, oh, well, this person likes me. This is cool, and they start building. You start learning to love yourself, and stop, doing the hardcore drugs that you were doing. Start drinking the way I was drinking, and just doing simple things. Because honestly, during that depression, mine was so bad. I wasn't taking showers. I wasn't, clean shaven. And now I take pride in what I look like every day. I get up, I shower before I go anywhere. I shave and make sure I'm presentable to the world. It makes me feel better.
Mom, congratulations coming out of something like that. And I know it always sticks with you. But depression is a killer. It really is a disease that many people really don't understand. And I don't think just because we're in the life that we're in, it makes you weak. I actually think it makes you stronger coming out the other side.
And I agree with you. That was a major reason I kept my depression a secret and hidden and didn't want to tell nobody, because in our lifestyles, they look at you that one, you're crazy. You put in work, this and that, and like, to say something like that, people kind of do look at you funny, like, are you weak? No, I'm human,
Absolutely.
Very well said. Very well said.
I bought a new bike.
So one thing that I noticed, I was going to say this earlier, so I'm coming back to this point, is still the ton of respect you guys maintain for your former clubs. The fact that you, Wes, you have this desire still to prove to them, or to say to them, or communicate to them that I'm still worthy. I was not that dude that you thought. And you haven't come on here and thrown a bunch of people's names out or anything. You've just told your story, but you kept your former club private. It's still secret. And you too, Wes. I mean,
you can make me cry.
That's not the. We'll all be up here crying. Hollywood won't cry. He's too evil. But
that's the one big misconception that people don't know about bikers. They look at bikers and they say drunken assholes that just go to bars, and it's not even like that. There's one thing. I've been through many walks of life, met many people, and there's one thing I found in the biker community you do not find anywhere else. Mistakes happen, situations like this happen, but the brotherhood you build with those brothers, and it doesn't matter if it's in the same club or just with the 99%ers out there, like that brotherhood that just, you don't see it anywhere else. You don't experience it anywhere else. So yeah, of course I'm gonna stick. I love it.
Do you miss it at all?
I've been to
Oh,
war.
absolutely. I do. I miss it every day. I really do. But it like I said, it was. I couldn't dedicate myself 110%. And being in a club, you have to. My priorities shifted as far. My mom with my depression, taking care of myself, and on and on. And yeah, don't get me wrong. There's members that kind of, when everything was happening, we were like, you know what? I love you, as a person, as a brother, whatever. But we know what we signed up for. So if whatever way this goes, I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you. But just know that yeah, you're in my heart. So
Wow.
Yeah.
I got
I
the
missed the
utmost
club up until I get on the bike.
Say again.
I says I missed the club up until the point where I get on the bike and I start to ride, because being in Cali, you just don't ride where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You get certain areas that you're not too comfortable riding in.
Yeah.
Being an independent, I got that no problem. Cops don't look at me. I don't got that target on my back. I still ride like I'm in the club. Light speed here and there, but I missed the club up until about that. When it comes to the brotherhood, because I've been in battle with these brothers, and when the shit hits the fan and you're standing tall and they're standing tall, there ain't nothing in the world that can touch that. Being handcuffed next to a brother and going, "Did you feel that?" And they're like, "Yeah." You can't top that.
right. Well, we used to have it, and everybody's heard it, bros before hoes, and it's kind of like that. It ain't like that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it kind of goes kind of like what China Doll said. It goes both ways. The dude can do the same dirt that a woman can do. So
Right. Exactly. BD, man, come on, man. I know you got questions.
I'd like to know this. Do you guys, what would you say to younger brothers that are actually facing this right now? I'll ask you first, Wes, and then I'll ask you, Jesse. Like, what would be your advice to somebody that is facing this, especially in these clubs? And you guys were in Diamond Club, so you guys it's supposed to be tough and all this kind of stuff, and you've got a whole lot going on. But what would you say to somebody that finds himself in this kind of position? How do you handle yourself correctly?
I was, like I said, I was brought in by some old school members. I believe if you're gonna join a club like this, you gotta know what you're getting into before you do it, because yeah, situations like this, will arise. How do you handle yourself per protocol? But at the end of the day, like I was always told, a man stands on his own 2 feet by himself, without the club, without the. So as long as you're not being disrespected as a man, trust in your club, trust in your bylaws. And that's all I could, that's the best advice I can give the younger, generation coming up.
Very well said, Wes. Very well said.
Well, I'll tell you what, whenever somebody started hanging around and showed interest with us, and the first thing that they want to do is I want to bring my wife. I want her to meet you guys. I go, why? You love your wife? Yeah. You love being married? Yeah, man, yeah. Then don't join the club. Because if you join the club and I was married when I joined the club. I divorced 2 years after I was in. And everybody I know that came in married got divorced. So the odds of you staying together with your old lady when you come in the club, the odds are stacked against you. Because 3 things are going to happen. You're going to die. You're going to go to prison. You're going to get divorced. Those are the only 3 things you actually got that are guaranteed. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. that's what I tell the new guys that wanted to hang around. Hey, you see your old lady there? You're gonna find another one. And here, it's just proven fact. The statistics are against relationships in the club.
Right. I'm going to give everybody out there in the chat room a opportunity to ask our guests, Jesse and Wes, the question. And if you want to, put that question in the community tab. But Wes just said something, BD, that freaking time warped me back to my time.
It's one of the first things they would tell you.
First things they would tell you, you're either going to go to prison,
you're going to die. I can promise you 3 things. These are the 3 things I can promise you: an early death or a prison sentence. And anything other than that is gravy.
That's exactly the way it was said, man.
I think the way I was told was, if you're married, you're going to get divorced. If you have kids, you're probably going to lose them. If you have a house, you'll probably lose that. And you're either going to end up in prison or a hospital bed. Is this what you want? And at the time, I was young. I didn't have nobody.
Take me in.
It is crazy. Yeah, people. I even think of myself like, holy shit, what was I thinking of? Yeah, sure, Wow. But again, it's the strong bonds of brotherhood that you just build with some of these guys. It's unmatched anywhere.
Right. Do you feel liberated now that you're out of the club?
Different, yeah. I mean, because unfortunately, even though it's been so long, people still know who you are in your area. People still remember you as that. So you still have the people that kind of try to test your toughness. Oh, he doesn't wear the patch anymore. Let's see where he stands. And but at the same time, yeah, I do feel like I'm not looking over my shoulder trying to, as I was also taught too, is don't be fearful, but see them before they see you. And now I don't have to look around and see that. I can live that normal life and just go to any beach, any area, or ride through any area, not having to check in and give the heads up of where I'm going type thing,
Right. And were you able to come back and form a stronger bond with your family after leaving?
Unfortunately, my mother, it was too late. I lost her pretty quick after, her illness, and that is a horrible regret I do live with, is not, being able to fix that as much as I could have, We were on good terms and all that. But yeah, as far as with my sisters and all that, yeah, they stopped looking at me that certain way. They stopped, don't come around here with your buddies, don't ride your motorcycle down here. And, I would tell them, if I'm on my motorcycle, I'm wearing my cut. Doesn't matter where I'm at, And it was like, well, take your cut off down the street. Well, I'd just rather not go, So now they don't have to deal with that. I don't have to explain myself. So it did build that relationship, strong with my family too.
Right. Wes, do you feel more liberated?
Yeah, everything seems. When I ride now, I got my head up a little bit higher, catching the wind, and because I don't have to worry about what's coming up behind me, I don't have to worry about cops pulling me over, sitting there doing a Terry stop on me. I can carry a gun without, worrying about somebody getting the wrong idea. I got a CCW. I don't know. To me, I got to do things I normally wouldn't got to do if I was still in the club, because, you just don't go places unless, you're a nomad or something, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I feel better about myself. I feel better about my club. My club is no longer in my life, but I still love it. I still, I keep an eye on them. I try to hear out what's going on. But at the same time, if I would have stayed in the club, I would probably be dead or in prison right now, without a doubt.
Nate puts, so the moral of the story, I guess, is do your homework, due diligence before joining anything. Intel is everything. Don't be blinded by the flash. Find what's best for you.
And that don't be blinded by the flash is the biggest one, you know, because it's very flashy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's a crazy. I mean, the stuff I experienced with just wearing that cut, it was just, it's, you know, I hate to really compare it to that, but it's like straight Sons of Anarchy crap. You know, it's just like, damn, you know, I went through that. You know, the power of the patch type thing. So,
right.
You know, it is. Some people unfortunately are blinded by that, and that's why they join. And to me, that's joining for the wrong reasons.
Right. T Spain, well, you don't have to be in a club for someone to be trying to bang your old lady. The club is just a microcosm. Black Dragon.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. You know, we see this in churches, sororities, fraternities. Humankinds are humankind. And, you know, what I would tell everybody out there that wants to be in a motorcycle club of any kind, riding club, whatever, I would tell you that, like those guys used to say in the old days, I can promise you two things: jail or prison or an early grave. There's another thing that I can promise. I can promise you that you are absolutely going to be let down by your motorcycle club to the point of crawling on your knees, curling up in a ball, and wanting to die. Because motorcycle clubs are full of people, bottom line, and people are fallible. And as much as they'll build you up and make you feel great, and there's so many guys on here that are writing in the comments that are saying, I went through this. And brother Jose Gilbert that's on here was a 1%er. I remember when he called me up a few years ago, having gone through this same thing. He was with a major club, and the only reason I say so is because he writes it up there that he went through it. And I remember him calling me up and we talking for hours and days and weeks trying to get that brother straight, because I didn't want, you know, some of the bad things that were going on to come out of him. I've been on the phone and counseled guys all over the country. I've had prospects call me up and say, you know, Black Dragon, what do I do about this? And it's absolutely going to happen. What Wes said, keep your freaking old lady away from the damn club, especially when you're an F prospect. You don't know those people yet. They're prospective brothers.
Right. Well, we're at the hour mark. I'm going to go around the table and get your guys' final thoughts, your suggestions, your advice. We'll start out with Jess and then end up with Wes and Black Dragon.
You know, again, my life, I look at my life as way different than it was back then. You know, I know some people would probably look at it like, shit, I wouldn't go through all that shit again. But you know what? I would. You know, the bonds of brotherhood you build and the experiences in life in general, you know, you kind of learn how to deal with all the tough stuff that happens in life. You know, may not happen to everybody, but you know, you learn to kind of deal with it and you know.
Do you feel more empowered going through life now, going through those experiences?
I mean, honestly, I think I could deal with things a lot better than I used to, because, you know, before I used to come down on myself hard. It just, you know, I learned to hate myself. Like, why do I keep going through this stuff? I hate myself. You know, I'm ugly, this and that. Now it's just like, no matter how hard the situation is, I may not be able to brush it off, but I could just say, you know what, go to sleep and, you know, things will be better tomorrow. Things are, you know, I have more control in my life now.
That's huge right there, having more control for your life and thinking what's best for you. A lot of people don't do that, and it sends them into a spiral that some people just can't recover from.
I mean, I was almost there.
I can only imagine, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wes, what's your final thoughts, your advice, all that stuff?
The only advice I can give you is if you're willing to give up everything for a patch, heck, do it. You know, if that's what you're looking for that kind of that brotherhood that you can't get anywhere else, then do it. You know, it's your choice. But choices, they come with sacrifices. And what are you willing to sacrifice? You're going to sacrifice your kids, your family. Hey, do it. I'm not one to say, hey, don't do it because it's bad for you. No. Live your life. If that's what you want, go for it. But do it righteously. Don't lie to a brother. Don't ever lie to a brother. Take a beating before you lie to a brother. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely.
BD.
I never went through this because I lost every woman that I ever loved before that this had a chance to happen to me. The club took every woman I ever loved over the last 30 years. So I know what Wes is talking about, man. It's easy to get too into this thing. It can take your children too. And the time you find that you spend away, it's really kind of silly. It's like a military guy that goes out to sea or out in the fields for years and years and comes back from deployment and really doesn't even know. And this is his wife and children. So balance. Everything must have balance. So you young guys out there, seek some balance too. It's a whirlwind life. It'll catch you up. And the greatest time you could ever have in the world is a road doing stuff with your brothers, and everybody's on the same accord, doing the same thing, taking the same chances, don't care about nothing. But time just, I'm 59. I don't know where the last 30 years went. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for being on the show with us. It took a lot to come on here and talk about such personal issues, and we want to do things that help bikers with our shows, Hollywood and I. And I think that just the fact that other folks know I'm not the only one in the world. I'm not the only one that feels this way. Even Danny D'Lo. There's a few guys on here that we're talking about the whole time. Hey, I've been through this. I've been through this. I've been through this. Y'all aren't alone. They aren't alone. I'm glad we could talk this out together. Thank you so much for being on our show.
I have to agree, man. Jess and Wes, it took a lot of courage to do what you guys did. You taught me a lot. I know you taught a lot of our listeners a lot about what you went through, their perseverance to come back, to kick life right in the balls. That's what I see you guys did. And I'm so happy for you guys getting on that track and getting it together, man, for yourselves and your family and stuff like that. One thing that Black Dragon is correct is we want to do more shows like this to get more in depth on a personal level, because quite frankly, bikers are human beings, and there's so much more to being a biker, to being a husband, a boyfriend, all that good stuff. And there's a lot of troubles that go along the way. So we're going to try to start featuring that a lot more on our shows. And I thought it was an interesting conversation. Jess, Wes, damn, man, you guys did just perfect, if you ask me. It was really a really good show, in my opinion, and look for more with this. But everybody, thanks for coming on and all that good stuff. Tomorrow morning, I was going to do a show, but I'm going to let this one fester up there because there's a lot of good information people need to know and hear, and maybe that'll help them out. And don't forget, you're not weak if you have depression. Depression's a serious condition. Get help if you need it, and don't worry about looking weak. You're human. That's the advice I can give you. Catch you guys later. Rock on.